Martinez. Over the middle. Down the sideline. Touchdown, Birmingham. Marlon Williams with the score. A 41-yard touchdown in the final seconds in front of the home folks.
He waited plenty of time. He was back there cooking steaks. I mean, medium well, Kurt. He had all day long. And you see that little post-meal combination. The only Alabama native on the Birmingham Stallions back home. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Man, Keyshawn, Adrian Martinez dropped a dime.
No, he did. I actually watched this game, and I know Adrian Martinez from his days in Nebraska, so I was shocked that he was in this league and looking like a quarterback and not trying to run the football all over the place. But this is a great post-will combination, as Mark Sanchez talked about. He gave him, the receiver gave him enough room for error, didn't get forced too far to the sideline, and he dropped it in perfectly.
Hey, you knew him at Nebraska. I knew him better at Kansas State because one night in Norman, Oklahoma, he did a number on my Oklahoma Sooners. I've always liked and hated him at the same time, but I was surprised he's in this league because he can play.
Yeah, because during the broadcast, they never really said his first name.
Yeah.
They just kept saying Martinez, and I'm like, so I had to get my phone out to make sure it was Adrian Martinez.
Another reason to watch the UFL. Okay, let's get back to the NBA, and let's talk East, which is certainly not least, especially because it has the team with by far the NBA's best record, the Celtics, 7 games better than the Thunder, who, of course, finished first in the West, and 14 games better than the Knicks, who climbed above the Bucks into the 2 seed in the East. So, Rick, are the Celtics now a lock to win the East and then to win it all?
No.
Thank you.
No.
I was afraid you were going.
No, I'm not shocked. I'm just looking. I'm looking because, I'm just looking.
Yeah.
No. And I just can't, I should say that they are a lock to win the East because they're just miles ahead of everybody.
Miles ahead. Ridiculous.
But it comes back to the same thing that knocked them out last year, that remains the question that has to be answered, which is who is their leader? Who is their go-to guy? Who is the guy who brings it home when everything kind of comes apart? And I think actually the great easy run, relatively easy run that they've had this year may work against them because we just talked about it, about these teams that had to go through trials and tribulations and found themselves and found a confidence in we can do this. They are still trying to answer what they weren't able to get done the last couple of years. They fell apart against Golden State. They fell apart against Miami. Like, where is that ability to get through when it gets tough and you find an opponent that says, you're going to have to beat us. We're not going to lose this game. You are going to have to beat us. And it all comes down, and I hate to put it on one guy's shoulders, but Jason Tatum is their go-to guy. Jason Tatum is the guy that's supposed to lead them.
Yep.
And I just have not seen it. I've consistently seen it the other way. And until I see it, I don't know that they have that on the roster. Jaylen Brown wants to be that guy.
He does.
But doesn't quite have the game to be that guy.
Yep.
And they're always going to look to Jason first. And there's something, and Keyshawn, maybe you can speak to this. There's something about when you look to the guy who's supposed to be your best player, and he spits the bit, or he, I don't have it. I need somebody else. What that does to the rest of the team, because they're like, oh, wait a minute. Our guy ain't ready to stand up and deliver. Who's coming in and doing it now? And in crucial situations in NBA games in the last second, you don't have time to kind of figure it out on the fly to say who's going to step in and get this done. And that is at the heart of why the Boston Celtics have fallen short the last couple of years and why I still think they're capable of doing so this year.
See, I get what you're saying, Rick. I don't have them as clear-cut favorites coming out of the East simply because all of a sudden the 76ers has emerged with Joel Embiid if he can stay healthy. If he can just stay healthy, get into shape, now all of a sudden they went from the bottom of the cellar to the third best odds that says something. Now, you say, well, Milwaukee's still there but we don't know what the Giannis situation is, and they're still trying to find themselves. But speaking to the Boston Celtics of the past, this is a different team this year. Drew Holiday, Porzingis, those guys weren't there when they failed in the past. So it's a little bit different. Now, Jason Tatum, yes, you're right. When you have your spoken leader and your spoken leader's not necessarily playing at the highest level for you, you tend to look and try to figure out, okay, who's the next guy?
Yeah.
If Jaylen Brown's the next guy, but he's not giving you what Tatum's supposed to give you, now you go into the third guy. Now, who's your third guy? Now it's Porzingis. It's like, well, we're not going to get anything out of that. And Drew Holiday, he's not known as a scorer. He's just kind of like a two-way guy at a certain level, but not a high two-way level guy on the offensive end, but certainly on the defensive side, he can slow some things down. So you start looking for answers and searching. Now you say, okay, what about Mazzulla as a coach? He's now there from beginning to the end. He wasn't shoehorned into the position like he was a year ago. What I don't like about them, and I said this to Paul Pierce when he was sitting there the other day, you started the starters against Atlanta, and they gave up whatever it was. They had a 30-point lead and then lost or whatever. But then the other day, you got blew out the building against, I don't know, who did
Milwaukee.
Was it Milwaukee? And you started the starters. But you're going to tell me, it doesn't really, they just like, well.
Mazzulla said after the game, it's better to go in the playoffs with a bloody lip.
Yeah, it was the Bucks and the Knicks that you started these guys.
Yep.
You put them on the court, and you gave them 30-plus minutes.
Yeah.
You didn't stagger them to keep them in shape. You literally put them out on the court to win the damn game. You ain't gonna fool me. But then when you go on 1 from 7 and they not knocking shots down, you sit there and you go, okay,
It's an alibi. But isn't that leadership?
But that's part of leadership, because even if I'm playing in a meaningless called game and I'm on the floor, we can get up by 20, then we can coast take us out. Take us out in the third quarter. Take us out at halftime. But when you start me, and you started all 5, not 1, not 2, all 5 of your starters started, and then you go out there and you display that, it makes me question, where's the leadership? Okay? Because certainly teams that I've known to go on and win championships, they were not going to allow that to happen. Golden State wouldn't allow that to happen. You know? The Lakers wouldn't allow that to happen when they was winning championships. So that's how I look at it.
I'm with Rick on this. Even though I'm at cross purposes, I picked the Celtics because I do believe in the overall team, and I especially believe in Drew Holiday. I'm his biggest fan, and he is guts and glue, especially this time of year. He is leadership on and off the floor that they have not had. But listen, I really like Jason Tatum as a guy, because every interview he warms my heart a little bit more and a little bit more, because he's a really good young man. Now, this is 8 years in, so he's not a baby anymore. But I don't know about basketball killer in him. I'm not sure about it. The other guy, Jaylen Brown, I'm sure about basketball killer in him. I'm sure about competitive fire. I'm sure about big game, bring it. But he does not have the talent the other guy has. So it limits his impact in some ways. But one or the other has to take over the game when it matters in these big playoff moments against a Miami or in the finals against Golden State, and neither could. So now they add Porzingis. To your point, he's scoring 20 a game. Well, that should make you a little bit better. That's why they're number 1 in offense in the NBA, and they're number 3 in defense. Well, that should be a formula for championship, right? That's what that says. But the other thing that troubles me is they're the all-time live and die by the three-point shot. And I don't like it for a really good basketball team to shoot by far the most threes, take the most threes in the NBA. Now, you're going to make the most because you're taking the most. And they do make...
Everybody shoot threes, though.
I know, but this is way over what anybody does, like way more than the Lakers do. They're third from the bottom.
They shouldn't shoot any at all.
But, you know, it's funny you say that. And then I look at the final analysis with the Lakers. I know we're digressing here, but real quick. LeBron's over 40%. That's great. And look at all the rest of them. They got D'Lo's over 40%. Rui's over 40%. Taurean Prince is over 40%. Dinwiddie is 39%. They make a lot of threes. They just don't take a lot of threes.
Yeah, well,
okay?
and it's how do you get those threes?
Yeah.
This is the problem that I have with Boston and taking the threes. That's their answer to all their problems. Oh, we're not scoring.
Oh.
Let's
jack up
eventually
more
we'll
threes.
get hot from three, right? And it's a matter of, and one of the things that I love about the Lakers is that they're going to attack the paint.
They just attack the rim.
And
That's
then
what they
they're
do.
going to kick it out for threes.
That is correct.
Right? But
That is
they're
correct.
going to bully you.
They are. Bread and butter
that's
is
not
they
working.
attack you.
And that's, again, going back to our previous conversation, I've seen more of Jokic do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to bully you,
Yeah.
which opens things
That's
up
true.
for everybody else. Boston doesn't have that. Like, I wouldn't put bully and Jason Tatum in the same sentence ever, for one of your reasons. He's a great guy and a great two-way player, as good a two-way player as there in the league. But when we get to the playoffs, there are just so many games that come down to a last possession where you say to your best player,
Go get that.
get it for
Go
us.
get that.
Yeah.
And they're always going to go to Jason first. And sometimes he does it, and sometimes he doesn't. I can't have that level of inconsistency if I'm going to win the championship. I mean, where we're putting the bar.
Right. So
You can
who's
win a
your
series.
biggest threat to Boston?
Man, there's I mean, almost anybody because of that vulnerability. But Jalen Brunson, I trust more at the end of a game. Damian Lillard, I trust more at the end of a game. Now, do they have the requisite talent to be able to knock them off? Boston should win the East. They should come out of the East. They just have too much talent
They should
not
have
to.
came out of it last
right?
year, but they didn't.
Understood, which is why Miami's still in. They're still in the mix.
Yep.
They're vulnerable to everybody because their inability to win tight games and have that guy that they go to. And then after that, which is why I don't have them winning it, because I can see a number of teams in the West that are capable of beating them.